this tournament playthrough for the weekend, how finals are going to play out, and he rated himself at #1. He genuinely does believe he's the best player in the world and the best player and team in this lobby.
And I like that confidence. Some people could say it's overconfidence because you ask some teams and some players, they don't even want to rate themselves sometimes. Maybe they'll just put themselves on top 5 because they don't want to seem just a little bit too confident. Peterbot's one of those players that he not just wants to win. I was talking to him at last year's Global Championship. He wants to dominate. He wants to set records. He wants to build a legacy for himself that can go on years past his time is done in Fortnite. Hopefully not too soon with the way he's been playing, but uncontested means they have a lot of early open space throughout Crime City. Curve, Tyler, Shadow, all the way towards the north. Demon Dojo, a spot that starts off uncontested, but there is a couple teams towards the outside that they like to try to steal away some shots, steal away some of their loot, and they're not having any of that. You see already one elimination being picked up. They're following on the second. That's Hayes, and he's trapped in the box. 1v1 versus Shadow. This is his best chance, Monster, because he gets the knock, and now it comes down to a second 1v1 against Tyler.
Listen, I respect it, but Tyler and Curve are definitely extremely talented. They've been here before. They have a lot of experience starting to officially now rack up under their belt. Some might say this team right here is the next generation. This is the next up-and-coming types of trios that are going to be leading the Fortnite space in the years to come. So this is a big moment for them to go ahead and make sure they make a huge showing here in game #1. And you know what? Respect to Hayes' team, putting up a strong fight and forcing off Tyler and Curve.
Yeah, and you see their full health as well, so they can kind of re-loot up. They're going to go their separate directions. I expect to see both of those trios fully intact in due time, getting those reboots. Jumping on over to Bucky, Ocus, and Cam. Land on over to that rainbow field right near the black market. They instantly go in there because of one of the chests inside get to the dill bits, so they're instantly the team that gets that mythic drum gun in their inventory, and they give it to Ocus. Ocus is putting up numbers in terms of damage with that drum gun. I believe it's like over 90% of his overall damage in these games comes from that drum gun.
Yeah, that drum gun, man, so good in the hands of Ocus. I mean, we've seen Cam and Ocus just continue to, break ahead of the competition with it. And what's going on here? Bucky just trying to, fish for tags here at the Seaport City. Have to be extremely cautious, though, of course, given that there's another trio to the opposite side. Rapid in threats, also playing high ground here. Booga inside the Seaport City, of course, making sure that he's fishing up all the loot that they're going to need. And this is just the start for game #1. Take a look at Booga's loadout. For someone who's got the entire city to himself, I'd say the ammunition count could be looking a little sharper, so he's going to continue to spend time farming up here.
Yeah, just kind of consolidate the loot. You can see where the zone is at. Seaport is just on the edge of it, so a lot of those southern eastern teams on the map right now are going to have to figure out a way to rotate in towards zone, whether they beeline it up the eastern side of the coast, maybe even go all the way towards the western side, get around this spot is what they're going to be looking for, because you're going to have not just one but multiple bases set up here and around the map in general. As we jump on board, Higgs clicks Yamzo at their drop spot, Lone Wolf Lair, and Lone Wolf is one of those drop spots, Monster. It was built in high ground because it is on the edge of the mountain, especially when you look towards the north, the black market, flooded frogs. There is a lot of view that they can look down and see any player rotating through those trees.
This is what makes me really like this draw spot as a pickup for Clix's trio here, given that, again, it is relatively isolated, but it's going to come down to whether or not these teams want to show themselves right below the Lone Wolf. All that natural terrain, all those trees is going to make it a lot harder than maybe some other teams might have fishing for tags, right? So Yamzo, Clix, and Higgs, I wouldn't be surprised if they are still forced into pushing a trio for their surge damage. Jumping over to King, Silic, and Jargu here. We saw a lot of them coming out of the group stages, of course. A team that was no stranger to contested battles and early game fights this time. Seems like the Kappa Factory is completely theirs. However, that's come at the expense, right? Look at King's general builds here in Jargu, right? So it has kind of come at battling other teams, and they're just trying to claw back into the mid game.
Yeah, it's something we talked about throughout different group stages and even off broadcast as well, taking those prolonged early game fights where, yeah, you can start to build up a lot of surge, trading shots, getting a little bit of those heals intact, but it just leaves you so behind the rest of the curve. And that's a team right in front of them that landed towards the Kappa factory, that prolonged the fight, and they're in a very, very similar as them. So both teams forced to stagger themselves back into zone, try to scrap up anything that is going to be left behind. But a team that I told you I was going to have my eye on, Taki, Ishao, first-time finalists for them, Vert, 15-time finalists. This is redemption for them, missing out very narrowly on the Major 1 finals last season, and they land at the north side of the map, and this is kind of what they do. Where a lot of teams are making their way in towards the black market, they hover around towards the outsides, collecting shots, building up their storm surge, so that way they don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, gotta find that surge here and now, but Ishu already getting pushed out, kind of out of position here. Lost all of his shields. And unless this team has minis, there's no way he's going to be looking to use these splashes this early. So should be just recuperating there for a second. Meanwhile, on the other side, we got Bolton Kanata right now. It's not emphasized enough how much history Kanata has been a part of when it comes down to Fortnite competitive landscape. I was going to say, the only person 26 out of 26 is Zeke, essentially, because even I myself missed the finals as a commentator. So we're going to put Zeke on the GOAT conversation alongside Kanata there. But Jacob, take a look at the action. It's going down right now.
Yeah, full build fight breaking out here. A little slow to start that one. Gets beat off by Silicon Jargo, but Zeke still there, trying to take a little bit of that pressure off, but his teammates just getting cracked over and over. Luckily, they have the time and the heals to try to keep themselves in fighting shape. And this is one of those fights, I think, for Silic, King, and Jargo, where they do not have a lot of resources. You see bandages. You saw some empty spots before. And this is one of those they might feel like they have to take this fight in order to get, one, Storm Surge, but two, those eliminations, so that way they can get a refresh on their loot.
Already looking to continue to go down. Veer and Dash playing once again a bit passively here, but I'm not really feeling this for Seek, Veer, and Dash, because we have a desperate King, Jargo, and Silic right now, right? They don't have a lot of mats. They're getting extremely close, and they're looking to press this box fight. And you know what happens when you don't have, you know, the material count to go the distance? You put it all on the table, so this is about to be a full-on, probably 50-50 dive here, shortly.
Yeah, basically whoever gets the opening shot on their opponent. And there's actually a huge mismatch in terms of heals, as Veer's trying to lead the charge over the side. Has to be careful not to accidentally jump off the bridge. Seek just hiding underneath. He does have the Infiltrator, so he could deal a good amount of damage from far away. And you see in the distance the third party, Bolts, Kanata, Sphinx, they hear the noise, they see the shots, and they're beelining their way over. You see it in the minimap, and there's already one down on the board. For Jargo and King, that's Silic they just lost.
Yeah, Kanata gets the fall damage to assist them there on the elimination, and they are fully collapsing right now. Take a look at the nameplates. You just see they are controlling essentially the outer area here. And this is a very bold push here, so it tells us Kanata, Bolt, and Sphinx did not get damage in the early game, and they are forcing it now, so they don't end up in a bad situation here for game number one. Seek on the bottom level is going to find the elimination, though, so no points earned just yet, and they did leave the down body there, so that's damage lost too, but hey, they're pretty content with the exchange here, and off they go.
Yeah, I agree with it as well. You see the zone just pulling further and further towards the north. It has a big eastern lean on it as well. They already got a little bit of damage, and since they're bypassing this team, they know eventually the team they left behind is going to have to rotate into their position. So they're going to give themselves options later on. You're seeing how they were able to catch Silic off guard just in the distance. When you make that much noise, it's not as safe as you think. But you're seeing a lot of these fights breaking down. If you're not able to kind of position yourself with the abundance of heals and get those surge tags, these are the risks you're going to have to make.
Talking about risk, Shadow being brought back here at the Magic Mosses and now back into the action curve. Seems like they've caught a little bit of redemption as Hazen Mafia returned back to take the fight here against them. I would have thought they'd, you know, look at their little dub and call it a day, but no. Looking to reinitiate here is definitely risky for all parties involved. And then on the outskirts, someone's listening and watching just nearby, but wait a second, we got a big battle here for Japko, Muzz, and Rise. Taking down Amplify, so kind of finishing off what they started from earlier in the game. And now that's going to bring them up to 3 eliminations. And there's still what's left of the trio here right above them. Which, Jacob, it doesn't seem like Lords is going to be able to survive. Nope, not for long as the full elimination comes through. And that brings him at 4 elims for game 1 for the boy Muzz, the 3X making a comeback.
Yeah, I think they let one of those players kind of escape early on, got the reboot, and just kind of took them down yet again. And now with Storm Surge active, you're seeing how fruitful it's been for their game so far. 953 above the damage threshold. They have splashes, they have the water sprites, and since they're rotating through their original POI, they're going to have some extra heals that they have left along the way. And with the zone pulling towards the north, I don't believe there's going to be too many teams contesting them until they get there.
Here's the truth of it. With damage like that, they could play dead side all day long. They have a lot of luxury right now to make some huge rotates around the outskirts of the map, take their time and fully cap off on material here, so long as they have maybe even just a singular med miss to bring to the new Storm. This is a perfect scenario for Muzz for game 1. We get to get an update, though, on what's happening here with Sphinx, Bolt, and Kanata. So they are 1,000 damage above. So that elimination, that fight that broke out for them, clearly favorable. But now look what's happening. Veer and crew pushing in a little desperate. We already knew they might have been. And Sphinx, Kanata, and Bolt had basically cut them off, right? They were trying to get ahead of this Storm fight.
And even somewhere, DK out of nowhere gets a knock onto one of them. Veer had to immediately leave to try to go get the revive, while Seek is just creeping around, tries to land a good shot to catch him off guard, but it's not going to be enough damage to continue the all-in push. But you see there's no HP in any of their inventories, Monster. They need elimination. They need the siphon. It's all or nothing. Seek's doing what he can, but he's going to be the first one getting dropped out of this trio. Kanata, Bolt, Sphinx using that to keep themselves alive. The siphon's important, but in comes Dash. Well, out goes Dash as well. Veer being the last one left, and he has no chance at survival. But from one fight to the next, you're seeing how many other teams, there's been 4 teams staggered this deep into zone trying to get their surge.
And they're all lit up. This might be a perfect storm for Kanata's trio. And they get the re-knock onto Silic. This is like farming at this point. And then the cleanup for Kanata onto King. Oh my gosh. Look at the Elim starting to rack up here. This has to be intimidating for the lobby to see the feed lighting up in this way. Jacob, what a start for Kanata's trio. And you know what's the best part about it? People sleep on Kanata's performances coming out of the FNCS. You can look back at his entire history. He has so many appearances well within the top 10, but never, I think, have we seen a game 1 like this.
I feel like that's because Kanata is what they would call in the industry or community a prime time player. He just exceeds all expectations when the main event is on, when the spotlight is on him. I feel like he just gets exponentially better, and there's another example of that. But from all the teams rotating in from the southern to the north, we're going to jump on board Coop, Ree, and Curly, landing at Flooded Frogs. You can kind of see that they're up on that surge. A lot of their plan here was just taking advantage of a lot of the teams that are contested around their actual POIs. We jump on board. Hayes getting taken down. DK was one of the ones that we saw get an elimination early on, or at least it was a knock. He wasn't actually able to clean it up, but now the tables have turned. Cynic's trying to break his way in, and they take down Mafia. They take down Hayes. They send the full trio back to the lobby.
This is pretty incredible stuff. You know, coming into game 1, I expected some early and mid-game upsets, but so far, the big teams, the big names, the ones that we expect, the veterans are doing so well. They're exceeding expectations at this point. And then you have these new up-and-comers here that are looking, I'll make a name for themselves. DK and Cynic's Polar doing a great job finding their eliminations that they needed. And talking about those household names, we got Peterbot, Cold, and of course Ritual right here in a bit of a situation. Low ground, not too much damage for what it's worth. And on the other side, you have Muzz, right? We knew they were going to do a dead side rotate, and look, you have the big boys here waiting to catch them out.
Yeah, and this is a mean cutback of the zone right now. Almost all game long, it's been pulling to the north. It's been pulling to the east, and as soon as a few teams try to make it an investment to position themselves on that side, it pulls all the way across. But now it's basically 1v3 situation. Void trying to stay alive. Peterbot, Cold, Ritual pushing their way in, but the third-party shots continue to fire in from Rise, Muzz, and Yapko. With the zone pulling in, as now everybody at this edge of the zone is going to have to make that conscientious decision. Is it worth the fight, or do I rotate? And I think most of the teams in this position are going to have to rotate in because there's just too much damage coming in from that Zorn once it closes.
Peterbot, though, he's got eyes on Rise, and Free Pixel takes full advantage of it. Finds finds himself 57 damage there. Hey, listen, every ounce counts. The more pressure you can put on your opponents while you're making us rotate, the easier it's going to be for them to make sure they don't get shot back in return. A couple prestigious splashes being used, but they have to so they can get hot on the move here. And what a clean rotate is starting to turn out to be. I'm surprised there aren't teams that can see them, considering how far they're moving in from. But let's get a little update from Clixie, Amzo, and Higgs, who are fighting for their damage right now. Looks like Boo